All right, everybody, welcome to BO Boys for Sunday, January 12th. Fuck it, it's a raw feed. We're doing it live. I'm Clayton.
Yeah, I'm Pat. So, Clayton, big weekend at the box office. January is officially here in a real way. We got a real wide release that we're going to talk about. So, we had to bring in a special guest. I mean, this guy, he's a heavy hitter in the film world. He is, I would say, Barstool's preeminent film critic and historian here. So he started the Lights Camera Barstool show. Was the host of the Dozen Trivia. He's right in the middle now of a huge season of Surviving Barstool. The one and only Jeff Lowe is here. Welcome, Jeff, to the BO Boys.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for excited to talk some movies today.
Yeah,
not that I wasn't gonna talk about Den of Thieves 2, Pantera, but now I have to talk about it.
Have you had a chance to speak on mic about it? Because I imagine your life is what, 94% on microphone at this point? How much talking do you do that's not on microphone?
That, I mean, honestly, at this point, it is movies, though. Like that was kind of like, I mean, we did Lights Camera Barstool for years, and it just kind of phased out. We lost one of our co-hosts, he left, and so it just kind of phased out. And so I do way less talking about movies now. You can find everything I do about movies on my Letterboxd. I'm very active on there. But no, this is the first time I'll be talking on mic, and probably the last, honestly, about Den of Thieves 2, Pantera.
I mean, who knows what, this appearance here might lead to other podcast appearances where people like, we got to have this guy talk about Den of Thieves 2 Pantera after the way he lit it up on the BO Boys. So let's see where that goes.
True.
But Clayton, before we get into it, could you give us a box office plow for the weekend of Friday, January 10th, 2025?
Number one, Den of Thieves 2, Pantera, made $15.5 million in its first weekend. Number two, Mufasa, The Lion King, made $13.2 million, down 44%. It lost 305 theaters. It's at $188.7 million in its fourth weekend of release. Number three, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 made $11 million, down 48%. It lost 164 theaters. It's at $204.5 million in its fourth weekend. Number four, Nosferatu made $6.8 million, also down 48%. It lost 50 theaters. It's at $81.8 million in its third weekend of release. Number five, Moana 2 made $6.5 million, down, you guessed it, 48%. It lost 175 theaters. It's at $434.4 million in its seventh weekend of release. And we're going to go to six here with A Complete Unknown, made $5 million, down 39%. It lost 20 theaters. It's at $50.8 million in its third weekend of release. And I guess, why not? Let's do seven. Wicked, $5 million, down 50%, lost 320 theaters. It's at $458.9 million in its eighth weekend of release. And that's your lucky number 11.
So a few movies that we're going to get to Den of Thieves, of course, but a few other ones I want to touch on here, because in the Deadline top 10 there, Clayton, coming in at number 10, they have The Last Showgirl as the 10th biggest movie of the weekend at 1.53. So the numbers which you were going on does not have it in there. So I don't know. We have to figure out what the discrepancy is there. Why Deadline has The Last Showgirl in the top 10, but the numbers does not. We're going to have to rectify that. Jeff, have you seen this The Last Showgirl movie? Pam Anderson, Jamie Lee Curtis, both got Golden Globe noms. Have you seen this one yet?
Yeah, I'm a double feature guy on Fridays. That's kind of like my weekly thing. I do. I live in Long Beach, California, for those who don't know, and I drive to Huntington Beach every Friday, and I go see two movies. And my double feature this week was Den of Thieves 2, Pantera. You gotta say that, by the way, the least necessary like subtitle. Just call it Den of Thieves 2. Like, I mean, that is. It's so unnecessary. Like, it just John Wick did that with Parabellum. Just call it Den of Thieves 2. I'm not going to say Pantera the rest of the podcast. I saw that and I saw Last Showgirl.
Okay. How was that as a combo? Does that feel like a cohesive afternoon? It actually does feel like an action movie and then a Pam Anderson movie back to back. I know this is in a 90s style Pam Anderson movie. I think I haven't seen it, but I'm assuming it's a little sadder than a Barbed Wire, but it still feels like that makes sense as a combo.
My review on Letterboxd. Actually, so I called my good friend of the show, Kirkman. I called him after I saw this, and I said the short summary of this movie is it's that phrase people. It's the no, honey, we have Sean Baker at home. It's exactly what that movie is. It is.
Mm-hmm.
It's another Coppola. It's Coppola number 500 making a movie, and they must have seen like Tangerine or Florida Project and decided to make a movie with Pam Anderson, because it is exactly like that. But it's like, it's not horrible. It's not very good in my opinion. She's very good in it, Pam Anderson. All the people in it are pretty solid. Jamie Lee Curtis is fine. But I people who like her, I think are gonna love her in it. Dave Bautista is good. Kiernan Ship was in 6 movies last year, which is fucking crazy.
Is there any chance? Is there any chance, because this is something Clayton and I have been talking about since Last Showgirl's gotten all this, the Golden Globe nominations. Is there any chance people see this movie and on Oscar nomination morning, there is a shock supporting actor nomination for Dave Bautista? Having seen it, is that possible? Should gambling addicts put any money on that?
Now I got to pull up my trusty Oscars, because I'm like the Oscars odds guy.
Okay.
Like I obsess over this. I don't think so. He is pretty good in it, though. It's like a small role. I mean, the biggest thing that's hurting them is the movie's just not very good.
That doesn't help.
I think there's some weird stuff. There's a lot of like out of focus stuff. It's very bizarre. I don't think so. I think she'll get nominated potentially. That just seems like a role that the Oscars would nominate. But no, probably not for him. Would be my guess right now.
Okay. Yeah, not being good and not being in focus. Those are tough things for a movie to overcome when it wants to get Oscar nominations. Like I have a hard time thinking of Oscar nominated movies that were not in focus.
I don't know if she thought that like Sean Baker did that tech, because it really is like, it looks like a Sean Baker movie. It's crazy. Like, look at somebody trying to make a Sean Baker movie. There's also like a couple weird jump cuts early in the movie, which is just bizarre for something of like that quality. It looks like a solid movie. I don't know. It's very. I was a bit bummed by it, because I think Pam Anderson is very good in it, but no, it's not my favorite of the year. That's for sure. It was a weird double feature.
Okay.
So budget wise, do we know how many fields of grapes that her father sold for her to make that movie? Is that the daughter of Francis Ford Coppola?
I actually don't know that answer. I just know it's a Coppola.
It could be a cousin. They do propagate.
Yeah.
50% of movies this year were made by Coppola's or Shyamalan's. Like, I'm pretty sure that's how it works this year.
They should team up. We should get like a Shyamalan cousin and a Coppola nephew together, sell some of Francis's grapes. M. Night could leverage one of his Philadelphia houses, and let these kids make a movie. Why have all these grapes and all these houses in Philly if you're not going to let your family make movies that are out of focus?
She is a granddaughter. She's granddaughter. Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy.
So and at Coppola's age, like that, this could be like we could be talking about an 11 or 12-year-old who just made this movie.
No, she's actually 38.
40.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. So is this movie, do we think this is going to do anything for Pam Anderson as a box office star coming back? And here's a note. This is the first time ever that Pam Anderson, if we trust the Deadline top 10, that Pam Anderson has starred in a movie that is open in the top 10. She's been in stuff like the Baywatch, reboot, and scary movies that she made cameos in that came in the top 10. But as far as her above the title, because Barbed Wire opened at number 12 when it opened in the 90s. It did not open
Mhm.
in the top 10. So this could be the first time Pam Anderson has ever headlined a top 10 movie. Do we feel like this is an official comeback as a star? I mean, Clayton, are you feeling that a year from now we could be seeing 2 to 3 movies that open in theaters that are starring Pam Anderson?
Well, I mean, comeback as in, I mean, obviously she's never had a successful movie career, so it wouldn't necessarily be a comeback in
Mm,
that sense. It'd be a coming out party.
Right.
yeah,
So I mean, does she become a star at a late age like Rodney Dangerfield? I mean, that's who we're talking about here. Is like,
right,
he had some success as a stand-up, and then all of a sudden, so I mean, that's what we're talking about. This is like a uh late stage stardom, movie stardom, if
right.
possible. But with that, I would say probably not.
Probably not. Okay.
The performance is very fit for what the movie is, and like it's not like when I watch this year, when I watch like a Kieran Culkin or I watch an Adrian Brody or I watch like Zoe Saldana, who's like always good in anything she is, even if it's bad, Amelia
Mhm.
Perez.
Mhm.
And but it's like it's a very like out there, over energetic. I mean, it is the perfect performance for a person who's going to be in one of the final showgirl performances in Vegas. Like it's exactly like it fits
Mhm.
perfectly. I like that to me doesn't translate to anything else based on things I've seen her in the past. So I don't know, maybe not, maybe it will, but that's not what I kind of took away from this. Or like, like I feel like Demi Moore's gonna have like 900 offers now after The Substance, especially because The Substance continues to kind of
Yep.
like reignite.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Demi Moore's more like, well, but here's the thing with Pam Anderson. She's got a next movie lined up, and it is the Naked Gun reboot from the Lonely Island crew. So I don't know if she playing the Priscilla Presley part, or is she playing the Anna Nicole Smith part from Naked Gun 33 and a third. That I'm not sure about, but I think she is like the co-lead with Liam Neeson in the Naked Gun reboot this summer.
That changes
So
things, then.
that changes things. Yeah. Because so Jeff, you're saying you don't see her Last Showgirl persona being a exact fit for a Naked Gun remake.
Well, I mean, Naked Gun obviously being comedic, I think that
Mhm.
works. Maybe that's the lane that she goes in, because her performance, I mean, it's kind of like a tragic comedy in ways, because there are some like funny parts to it, but it's kind of like a sad story. It's like I could see that translating. I don't know how many more roles like that type of thing fits. I mean, that I guess Naked Gun I could see, which I have no idea how that's going to be, but I mean, I do kind of trust the Lonely Island guys to an extent. I am a big pop star guy, so.
Mhm. So Clayton, I mean, what do you think? Do you think this Last Showgirl run is right now the Lonely Island crew? They're like, yeah, this is big as we head into Naked Gun promotion.
Yeah, well, I don't think they're all involved in the movie. I think it's just one of them. But I know what you
Akiva.
mean. Yeah, I believe so.
I'm sure they're
But
all going to be supportive, though.
oh, of course, they're all going to
Yeah.
be, there and supporting their boy. Now, it's interesting that Neeson and Anderson are in this movie together, because I was thinking of Neeson as a sort of template for a
Mm,
guy who had a different kind of career before he pivoted to something, was able to port the same character from Taken into
right.
several other movies. So the burnt out showgirl that doesn't wear makeup character that Pam
Hmm.
Anderson is in this movie probably does not fit in a bunch of different movies. Like, I don't
Right.
know how many sort of same me movies you could do. But again, you know, looking at something like Gleason, and you could say maybe they had a conversation on set and we're like, hey, maybe you should do the action thing. You know what I mean? I mean,
Right.
that's a possibility for Pam Anderson. I know, listen, Barbed Wire
Barbed
was a
wire,
bomb.
though. Yeah.
But there is an opening for the sort of Liam Neeson aged person to do a movie in the female genre.
Right. Right. And especially post Thelma was a big hit this year. So
Yeah.
that sort of opens up the like older actress. Yeah. Like Pam Anderson could be like a value add if they do a Thelma too.
Like, I mean, they don't, she might not need a rascal now, but in a few years, who knows?
Right. And it's like she's the hot young new resident at Thelma's old age home. Like
Yeah.
the first Thelma movie, she lived at home. Thelma 2, she's finally okay. Put me in the old age home. See how that goes. And then boom, who's your roommate? It's Pamela Anderson.
Guess who
And
moves
that's your
in?
setup
Yes.
for Thelma 2. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
The kid in that movie was in a shitload of movies this year, by the way. I was talking about the what's her face in Last Show, where Kiernan Ship goes in 6 movies this year. That kid, Fred, was it Fred Heckinger or Heckinger?
Yep.
He's in, I think he's in like 5. He's in Thelma.
He's in Gladiator
2.
2. Yeah.
Craven.
Yeah.
And I just finally got to see Nickel Boys the other day. He's a huge part of Nickel Boys.
Is he really? That guy's
Yeah.
wow, what a year. Thelma to Nickel Boys. That is some range.
And Craven the Hunter.
Okay, so you have seen Craven the Hunter?
I've seen, my 2024 officially wrapped, I believe, minus some international stuff with Last Showgirl. I saw 388 new movies in 2024.
Wow.
So my list is complete, I think.
Is this just a personal is this personal drive, or is this part of some kind of larger project that's like sponsored by an energy drink that you've got going?
No, this is, I'll tell you what, if someone wants to come in, they sure can. No, this is back since high school. I've been doing this since high school. I see everything every year.
Okay.
It's gotten easier as I've gotten older, and I'm able to see, you get screeners and get my hands on things. I can see things that maybe I'm not able to get to quite as easily. Moving from New York to, I'm not in LA, so I don't get like the LA releases. I don't really, I'm not inspired to drive 50 minutes to go to LA to get them. So I don't have like my theater in New York City was Lincoln Center, the best theater in the country.
Oh,
and so I got everything right when it came out, and I don't have that luxury as much anymore, but I was able to, it's a personal thing. I've done it for almost 20 years now. So
yeah, that's so commendable, but I do think you've got to monetize this psychosis that you have. Like, you really should get like Four Loko or Monster Energy or one of these big energy drinks in the space. Really should be monetizing you going to see these movies,
especially because of some of the crap that I see.
Yes,
you're right. I should be paid for some of, like, I see some things that are just as bottom of the barrel as possible. I saw that Homestead movie that came out from that like religious studio.
Okay.
And that, I mean, we have our Light Team of Barstool still has an active Discord, and I went on there like looking to talk to someone. Nobody saw it. Nobody. And I was like, oh man, what a waste. I got no one to talk to about this shit movie.
Yeah, see that you should have like, you take a swig of Four Loko or something, and then you see the movie and you get paid. That's really what should be happening here. We got to get your management on this.
I like it.
So okay, so that's The Last Showgirl.
I had 5 walkouts in Last Showgirl, by the way.
Oh, okay. Talk about the experience. Yeah,
five people walked out. There was I think 7 or 8 people. Actually, I have here. I'll give you. I'll try not to get too long on this story. So I have about 8 people in my theater when I got there. I saw it in the morning. 5 people walked out. Not including me. So there was 3 left. But when I got in there, I bring like a bag. Because I put like the popcorn in a bag, like a reusable grocery shopping bag, and then I put it down. And I usually I have like a change of clothes. I go for a walk or whatever before that. And so I went in and I put my popcorn down. It was the preview still, so lights were on, and I had to go refill my soda. So I got up and I left the bag there. And as I'm going out, I see someone from my row get up and kind of like run down the stairs behind me. And I was like, oh, I must have inspired them to go to the concession stand. I went and I was in the concession stand refilling my soda, whatever. And I turn around and she was staring at me from like the hallway connecting the like theaters to the front entrance where the food is. And it dawned on me, she thought I left like a bomb or something in the bag. She thought I was like left a suspicious package in the theater. She saw me and she immediately turned back into the theater because I left that, because I was pretty quick into the theater to drop the bag. So I kind of understand it. Yeah. Like, oh man, she thought I was a suspicious person. But
wow. I mean,
he didn't leave though. They stayed.
I could see that type of thing happening a couple of years ago, opening weekend of Joker. Like probably anyone who got up to use a concession, if they left anything behind, everyone assumed, bomb threat. But Last Showgirl, an empty screening of Last Showgirl does seem like a curious movie for a would-be, problem causer to pick. Because like, what are you really going to accomplish if that was what the person's plan was? That's what I'm saying. It's ineffective,
Laid back mid-weekday screening too, and like a relaxing. It's not different. Like New York City, I would never do that. Like 42nd Street AMC, I once sat next to a guy with a power drill when I saw Ted.
Mm-hmm.
Some movie Ted, he had a power drill throughout the whole movie, and I just assumed at one point he was going to kill me. I had to watch it, assuming that was going to happen.
But I mean, it really speaks highly of Ted that you stayed for the whole movie, even though a stranger had a power drill inches away from your head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. So was there a reason in the movie why people walked out? Like, was there a scene?
No.
Okay.
I have no. They were older. I do get a fair amount of walkouts. So because I go in the afternoon, and it's a lot of older people, and I think they just kind of say this is not worth our time anymore. And so I get walkouts, but this was weird. This was a lot. Like it wasn't anything like, like Anora is a pretty grating movie if you don't like things that are fairly inappropriate. Like this wasn't like an Anora. There was some nudity, but it was nothing crazy. But no, they didn't like the vibe. Maybe they didn't like the jump cuts. They were so offended by the filmmaking, they had to get up and leave. But there were a bunch of walkouts.
That could be the thing, especially if it's an area where there's a lot of older people. Like a movie being out of focus could really mess with their mind.
Yeah.
They might start to think like, I got to go see the doctor. My eyes are out of focus.
They had to get the glaucoma medication refilled.
Yeah. Yeah. And little did they know. And then they OD'd on it because it actually wasn't their fault.
How many glaucoma patients has this movie killed, do you think?
I mean, the thing is, if the box office number was higher, I would say more, but I would say 10 to 20 deaths this weekend. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If this movie opened number 5, I would say we'd be well into the thousands of glaucoma related deaths from the out of focus, but it opened number 10. So I would say we're under 20. So listen, Pam Anderson, she's in the top 10. She got a lot of airtime on the BO Boys, which is great for her. So I think we should quickly touch on this Game Changer movie that also opened this weekend, just because we have to give our Clemmer report. If you listen to the last episode of the BO Boys, Chris Clemmer, your compatriot over at Barstool, he was the guest. He told us about, I love how you guys have these movie going torture tests that you put yourself through. Clemmer was saying how this year he will see every movie that opens in 1,000 or more theaters. That is,
he says he will. He says he will.
He also did admit on the show that by April he'll find a way to renege on it. So he's already set up.
April would be a victory.
Yeah,
massive victory for him.
It's always interesting when someone starts a promise with the date they're going to renege on it. But he did say 1,000 or more. So coming out of that, we said that we would give a Clemmer report on these episodes to let him know if a movie that was questionable for the wide release hit 1,000 theaters or not, and whether he had to go. So Game Changer did not open in 1,000 theaters. It opened in the 800s. So we could officially say Clemmer does not have to go to see this movie Game Changer. So he's off the hook.
That's like the Tollywood movie, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's
okay,
like an action movie.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's music and dancing in space or something will happen at some point. But he does not have to see it. So that is the official Clemmer report for this week.
He's already. I mean, so I was listening to that. Which, by the way, Kirk and I joked about this when you guys asked him if nobody's understood a bit of sarcasm less than when you guys asked if they roll in kegs to the theater and it's like a frat party. He took that as serious as anyone's ever taken a question in his life.
We did want to know. I mean, listen, we're getting to know you Barstool guys, and that is our assumption, is that is like Hawaiian Tropics models and kegs, and that's how you roll into a screening of The Last Showgirl. So it's great to now like get the behind the scenes on it. It's not always kegs and Hawaiian Tropics models.
He really is a front row guy. He wasn't just saying that though for
Mm-hmm.
the effect. I saw Oppenheimer at Lincoln Center in the IMAX, which is top 5 movie going experience I've ever had. That the literal best theater and screen in the country, right there.
Yeah.
And halfway through, I'm looking down with another coworker, the one that he goes with fights. He said he goes with fights, and I look down, and this wiry, thin figure in silhouette stands up in the front row and runs out full sprint to get food. And sure enough, we had no idea he was there. It was Chris Clemmer. So he is a front row guy, and at the biggest IMAX in the country, that's dedication, because that is like, I mean, I don't even know how you watch that. That is as having to turn for everything as possible with how big that is.
Yeah. That's painful. I mean, again, you guys should be getting sponsored by energy drinks for the things you put yourselves through at these movies. Front row seating, seeing everything in 1,000 screens or more. It's torture. But it's good for the box office, so we love it. So yeah, and you know what? And Clayton and I, of course, we talked about this with Clemmer on the last episode. Can't wait to go see a movie with him in the movie theater.
When I'm in New York, we need to go to Lincoln Center. We'll go as maybe 4 of us can go.
Yes. I mean, done.
Absolutely.
100%. 100%. Yes. Myself, the BO Boys have to see a movie above anything else. The BO Boys have to see a movie with Chris Clemmer and Jeff D. Lowe. That has
you got to
to
be
happen.
picky though with him. I've never seen. He's the most cinephile human who hates movies. Like he didn't want to see Gladiator 2. Probably didn't see Wicked. Remember, and with you guys, like I didn't really want to see Den of Thieves, so I'm gonna go see it another time. It's like this guy like movies, so I don't know. We have to be picky about what you offer to him because he doesn't want to see everything.
But you know what? No matter what it is, when the 4 of us get together, go see a movie, it's gonna be a great time.
Yep, absolutely,
it's gonna be great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be so much fun. The 4 of us seeing a movie, the 4 horsemen. I mean, we're finally together. Yep. We needed this to happen. So the movie though that opened this weekend that we didn't see together, of course, was Den of Thieves 2, Pantera. I had to say it once. You don't have to say it again, Jeff, but I had to call it Pantera. So this is number 1. I would say it was questionable coming in whether the audience remembered this movie, because the first one opened 7 years ago. Memories are short, but people remembered this opened a whole 300,000 better than the first movie. So this is a franchise that is on the upswing here. So now, having seen this, what was the response in your theater to this movie? Were people more excited for this than The Last Showgirl?
Yes, and this theater was relatively full for being at 1:30 on a Friday, about 1:30. So people were pretty excited to see it, I would imagine. So and nobody walked out.
Right.
People seem to enjoy it. There was some laughs. It's a funnier movie than the first one. And that's definitely intentional. It's a strange turn from what the first one was, but no, people seem to like it, and people seem to online like it, I think, but to like the extent that you can like critically like it as well. Like I don't like. There's definitely a ceiling with this. Like I don't see anyone being, because every now and then you'll get that movie like that was actually like that movie Carry On that came out on Netflix, which I thought was fine, but people were like, oh, this is actually it's pretty fucking awesome. I'm not seeing a ton of that with Den of Thieves too.
How much eating does Gerard Butler's character do in this movie? Because me and Clayton saw this together, the first one in the theater, and the hooked us as soon as Gerard Butler's character walked on screen, eating a sandwich over a crime scene, tossed a sandwich on the floor. That was it. We were in the Den of Thieves hive mind forever. Does he eat a lot, and does he toss food at corpses in part 2?
Jeez, I didn't even pay attention to the eating. I think he eats a decent amount.
Okay.
I mean, he does. I mean, his character too in the first one. His character in this one felt a little more buttoned up. than the
Okay.
first one.
Mm-hmm.
I think my old co-host Ken Jack, very one of my favorite interview questions. We interviewed O'Shea Jackson Jr. once, and he asked how much Gerard Butler smelled on the set of the first movie, and I thought he looked like he smelled in the first one. I don't know if it's as much in this one. I think
Okay.
maybe a hair cleaner in this one.
Okay.
Which is maybe it's because you got to be a little more polished and because this is more of a heist movie.
Mm-hmm.
The first one was like a wannabe Heat type ordeal.
Yes.
This one is definitely more heist in terms of what they were going for.
Okay, so a little more Oceans. They're heading towards the Oceans franchise, away from the Heat
It's
ripoff
weird because
franchise.
it's like I think it has a little very clearly. So this is the interesting thing about it being 7 years in between. I think they heard why people enjoyed the first one,
Mm-hmm.
and the first one was enjoyed by what most people watching it on TNT is my guess.
Yeah.
This is the cable TV movie champion in the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so my guess is that they saw a lot of that, of what people liked in the first one and what maybe they wanted more of, and they layered that in there, more like the buddy kind of, humorous stuff. It's definitely funnier. It's more fun. It's not quite as serious, which is good. It improves in some of those areas where I think it needs to be, but it does kind of lose some of like the grittiness. Or one of my coworkers who works with our show, Gooch, we call him, Robbie Fuqua. He good letterbox too. He said griminess. It's not as grimy as the first one.
Okay.
And I think that they're kind of the same quality wise, but they both do things better than the other differently. It's kind of odd. Like it's weird. It's very strange. And now they're going to make the third one significantly quicker than this last one. So I wonder which way if they're going to keep going like fun, more funny, like knowing it's going to be a cable star, or maybe they go back to what the first one was. I don't really know.
I would guess so. I think the Gooch is going to have to prepare himself for it's never going to be as gritty as it was in the first one.
Probably true.
So I think
that is what worked though. People like that, which is kind of odd to me. Which is like it kind of comes at the expense of some of that.
Right.
Well, it's an interesting way to go about franchising a IP because, as you said, Den of Thieves 1 was a Heat ripoff. This one feels like an Ocean's ripoff. What is the third one going to be? I mean, does it go full on Rush Hour? Are we going to see Big Nick with a funny sidekick and it's just that sort of movie? I mean, that's an interesting way to play this, is like, do great movies just a little bit worse.
Yes. Every sequel's a different genre that is not as good as the one you want, but hey, we can't pay those stars to do a sequel to that movie anymore.
But it's always crime. So it's always like maybe Big Nick has to be a Big Mama type character. I mean, that's also a possibility. Like, I mean, there's so many things you can do here.
Yes.
I like the idea of having this franchise be something different each time, though. If they do go for that, and it's always kind of the same level of like enjoyment, it doesn't need to be an Oscar contender. Like I'm cool with that.
Right,
a full-on comedy, like a Jump Street ordeal next time. I would like that more. Like if they're gonna change up each time, I'm game for that.
Yeah, do like a Murder on the Orient Express type of movie, and Big Nick is the detective with all these wacky characters on the train. Yeah.
I mean, put Big Nick in high school. I mean, make it the principal. Big Nick is the principal of a school, and he's infiltrating a gang. I mean, that's the kind of stuff. Why not?
Yeah. A Big Nick's got to be the student, though. He's got to be
substitute. The movie I was thinking of, the substitute, but
okay.
Well, what if his dad did play in Jump Street? What if this is a prequel to the Jump Street movies? He retires and he becomes the captain. Like that's his story arc. You could do that too. Remember, Jump Street was trying to cross over with like Men in Black or something a few years ago. It never happened. Maybe this is the move.
This is the move. Yeah, the Men in Black franchise is probably a lot harder to deal with than the Den of Thieves franchise. I feel like Lionsgate here, they're willing to play ball.
They definitely are. Yes.
Yeah.
But Pat, you were saying he should be the student. I mean, then you do. I think it's called Den of Thieves Big Nick on Campus.
Yeah, it's National Lampoon's Den of Thieves Big Nick on Campus.
Because you could just buy that as a title. Yeah, you don't have to really be. Yeah, you could just like leased that out. The National
Yes.
Lampoon.
Yeah. I mean, though, it should be, of course, Barstool Sports is Den of Thieves,
Correct.
Big Nick on Campus. I mean, what are we talking about? National Lampoons at this point? This is, you get Lionsgate, you get Barstool in a room together, and you get Big Nick in high school. That's the movie. So Clayton, I gotta give you a chance to crow about this right now. So Jeff, we on our first episode of the new year, we with a couple of our regular guests did a box office fantasy league draft. So we are doing from now until September a fantasy league, and Den of Thieves 2 is the first movie that was drafted that has opened, and this is Clayton, one of his movies. So Clayton, I mean, take a minute. Are you excited that your first player has stepped onto the field with Den of Thieves 2?
Yeah, this is a solid, this was a lower draft pick, obviously, because when you get down to it, there was less to pick. But according to our rules, it's a point for every 5 million, and it's a point if you go number 1. This movie got to 15, so that's good for 3. Plus, it squeaked into number 1, and it did what I wanted it to do. I can't think of I did not imagine this movie going crazy and opening to over like 15. So I think this was a good solid win for me in my first first movie of release.
Yeah. And it just really turns the screw on me again, because as soon as I picked and Jeff's going to shake his head at this, can't believe that I picked Love Hurts, the Kiwi Kwan Ariana DeBose movie that comes out in February. It was like my second to last pick, but it was a movie I somehow picked ahead of Den of Thieves 2. I could have had Den of Thieves 2. I picked Love Hurts instead. The second it came out of my mouth, I was furious. So when something like Den of Thieves,
I could see it doing pretty terribly.
It's what?
I could see that movie doing terribly. I don't know why.
Yeah, I agree. It's on my team, and I totally agree. It's going to be a disaster.
Wait a couple months and you will see it do terribly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be disaster, and I could have had Den of Thieves too, but congrats, Clayton. You're the first person on the scoreboard with Den of Thieves 2, and it's probably going to have a decent run. Like, you're going to rack up more points because you get another point every 5 million it makes. So opens to 15, this is probably going to be a movie that does 35 million all in, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, if it does what the original did, which was like 44, then that's a pretty good points total for a movie that was on the lower tier of what we drafted.
Yeah.
Was Wolfman taken ahead of it or after it?
Wolfman, I think, was taken ahead of it. Yeah.
Okay.
What is your forecast on Wolfman? Because that opens next Friday. It's from the director of Invisible Man, which was one of the last big hits before COVID started. And it does feel like there's not the buzz on Wolfman that there should be. Why do you think that is? Like right now, how come at Barstool, the Barstool Bros are not freaking out getting ready for Wolfman? I assume that's not the case. Why is that?
Excited that September 5 finally goes wide next week. I actually lied. That's the last 2024 movie I haven't seen yet. So my double feature next week is September 5 and then Wolfman. No, I don't know on Wolfman, because I will say the people who saw Invisible Man, I liked it. I don't know about you guys. I liked it. I thought it was a good movie.
I really liked it. Yeah.
Yeah. Lee Winnell, very good director. Maybe it is just the mark. It's weird because, like, I don't know. There's a lot of bias when I say this. I'm a huge Robert Eggers fan, so I was very excited for Nosferatu. But even something about Nosferatu, like, it gets you. Wolfman, I don't know. There's something about the trailers I'm looking forward to because I know who it is, but I can kind of see how it doesn't really, like, it's that time of year. It's like that kind of movie. I can see people being like, that's going to be shit. I can kind of see people being turned off by that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think, Lee Winnell doesn't have the kind of name that people just know or trust, even though they should. So I don't think there's any audience buy-in just because it's him, in the way there is with like Robert Eggers or Ari Aster or someone who people just know. And I do think we'll see. I don't think not that there needs to be a big star because it's horror and the genre sells itself, but I do think the lack of anyone that people really recognize, I guess, other than the what's her name, Jennifer,
Julie
not Jennifer,
Garner.
Julie Garner, who I think people have a disconnect at the moment in the trailer when she says that she is his wife and not his daughter. I know I have that problem every time I see that trailer, and I do think that's a reason for the low tracking, is that people are just so shocked that she's playing the wife and not the daughter. I don't know. I mean, Clayton,
Well,
do you feel that at all?
No, because
Okay.
I don't think Charlie from Girls is that much older than her in real life.
But it doesn't matter. There's just a vibe that that's his daughter.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing with this is that with Invisible Man, you had a good twist on that premise. I mean, it was about her having to fight her ex, who was a meanie.
Right.
Here, it's just my boyfriend turned into a wolf, or my
Right.
husband turned into a wolf.
Right.
And from what we see in the trailer, that's it. So
might
what
be
are
it,
you
yeah.
adding to this? What's the +1 to this? Because again, you don't have a star, as much as Charlie from Girls is a star in our minds, not a
Yeah.
star to most people.
Right.
So I think that's the problem, is that when you see this trailer, it just looks like any other Wolfman movie. And there needs to be some hint that we're getting something different.
Right. So before we move on, I do just want to go back to Den of Thieves. So good opening weekend for Gerard Butler. And it made me think, when I was seeing the numbers coming in this weekend, it made me think about January movie stars, because January is definitely a dead part of the year, usually at the box office. You get holdover big movies from December, but usually you don't get giant movie stars opening movies in January too often. And because of that, you do get a lot of other movie stars who could sort of like take the crown. Will Smith, of course, is Big Willie weekend, 4th of July. But I was looking, who owns January? So let me ask you guys, like, who comes to mind as just like January movie stars, or who you would think would be January movie stars? Are there any actors that just like feel the month to you? And I was sort of looking in the 2000s, so not pre-2000, just like the last 20 years, this century. Does anyone feel like a January guy or girl to you, Jeff? And I think, Clayton, I might have sent the list to you, so you might already be privy to who I put down.
Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart is a good one. Well, because Kevin Hart is in a couple of big movies co-starring who I think is Mr. January. So in my research, I'm ready to crown Mr. January as Ice Cube, who
Okay.
Because this is Ice Cube's January in the 2000s. In 2000, he had Next Friday. That got to 57 million. He had Torque in 2004. He had Are We There Yet in 2005, got to 82 million. A movie called First Sunday in 2008 got to 37.9 million. But then I think the ones that seal it for him, 2014, he's got Ride Along, gets to 134. And in 2016, he's got Ride Along 2, gets to 90. So, I think he's Mr. January, but then, I mean, obviously Kevin Hart is a big part of those. So he's in there too, for sure. So that's what my Mr. January. The person who I have as second is actually Martin Lawrence, but there's a big gap because he's got a movie, National Security, in 2003, Big Mama's House 2 in 2002 is a huge hit, and then Bad Boys for Life in 2020 does 204 million. So he's my other Mr. January. Clayton, was there anyone else that you thought of that you were surprised wasn't on the list that I put together, or that you would have thought is the big January guy?
Not really. I mean, it makes sense that Jerry Butler would be on it because didn't Plane also come out in January of last year?
Yep. Jerry Butler's Januaries are he's got movie 43 in 2013 is
Big
bomb.
one.
He's got Den of Thieves, the original 2018 did 45 million, and then Plane in 2023 did 32 million. So he's like, I would say, a newer aspiring Mr. January. He's really just started his run if you don't count movie 43. And then the other like Mr. January is Liam Neeson, because Taken opens January 30th in 2009. Then he's got The Gray, does 50 million. The Nut Job is a January movie. Taken 3 in 2015 does 89 million. The Commuter in 2018 and The Marksman in 2021. So he's a real solid January B movie star.
I mean, you do throw in The Nut Job, which is a kids animated film that I don't know what his voice is in it, but I do think it would be fun if they did have, if he just did a movie that was live action and in his old man action phase just called The Nut Job.
Yes.
And he's just referred to as the Nut Job the whole time.
Yeah, the nut job's in town. The nut job is waiting for you at the house. The nut job's in the booth at the diner. Yeah. Yeah, he should do a nut job live action. And then I'll throw out one last one. Do you guys have any guess? I guess Clayton, you know this already. Jeff, do you have any guess who is Miss January? What actress is, I mean, I was blown away, but she is the absolute queen of January. We have a clear Miss January.
And we say Miss January, not like the spreads that are up on the walls of the Barstool offices, because I know you guys put all the centerfolds up there from every year when it's like January, here we go. Here's all the January spreads. We're not talking about that. We're talking movies.
You're talking movies,
not centerfolds.
Not centerfolds.
Can I get a hint? Can you narrate? Is there a way to give me a hint without giving it away?
Okay, so Clayton, she was in a surfing movie, right? And this is not a January movie, but is the actress I'm thinking been in a surfing? No. Okay, so that's a
terrible
bad
hint.
That's a terrible hint because it isn't true. So the movies that 4 out of the 5 movies that she has made that have opened in January are all part of the same series. They are all a part of a low budget series that has many movies that are actually all pretty solid mid-level hits. And they are all one-word title, and then some other, Pantera-esque add-on. And she is the star of all of these movies.
Is it Rose Byrne?
It is not Rose Byrne. It is.
I think Insidious. Insidious has got. I think Insidious is very, because she's the Insidious.
She's the Insidious woman.
Wife,
yeah, I
right?
think actually Insidious. I think that is like a February franchise. So
okay. I thought that I knew it was early year.
Yes, but it's like that. This is a action fantasy franchise that she is in all of them. So here's what I'll say: it's not Mila Jovovich, but it is something like that.
Oh, because that's obviously that's who I was about to say.
Yep. And I could tell by, if you watch on YouTube right now, you could see that Jeff was about to say Mila Jovovich, and we could all tell that in the way his brow was furrowing. But it's a franchise like that with an actress who is.
She dated Pete Davidson.
Does that narrow it down? Does that get it down to?
So it's Kate Beckinsale.
Yes, it is.
Wait, what? It's
the Underworld franchise.
Oh my god, that I would have never guessed that.
Yep. So Kate Beckinsale is Miss January again. Jeff, movies, not centerfolds on the Barstool wall.
Yep.
She's got Underworld Evolution in 2016, Underworld Rise of the Lycans 2009, Underworld Awakening in 2012, Underworld Blood Wars in 2017, and she also was the co-star of Contraband in January 2012. So she is Miss January. I mean, that is, give her the crown.
Underworld Blood Wars is a bad movie. I mean, a lot of like that is a bad movie. That was from like 2015-ish.
It was in 2017. Yeah.
I remember
No
the
Rise
bad
of the
one.
Lycans.
Yeah, I remember the bad. Like anything sub 10 out of 100 because I grade on 0 to 100. I'll always remember Underworld Blood Wars. Let me just see. Let me pull it up. I guarantee I gave it sub 10.
Okay, just we got stop there. You grade movies on a scale of 1 to 100.
I see too many. I have to. So I have to. That's how I differentiate them.
That is amazing. Wow, that should have been. I mean,
7 out of 100.
That should be the new
Underworld
thumbs
Blood
up,
Wars.
thumbs down. Is the 1 to 100 scale? That should be what's on like the newspaper ads for a movie.
Yeah, I go 0. I go 0 to 100. Yeah, this got a 7 out of 100.
7 out of 100.
Bad movie. This I go. I'm pretty stingy. Anything like 95 or above for me is like pretty elite.
Oh yeah, I mean,
once you're
a wide scale.
Once you're synced, because let's see, what do I have? I have on my letterbox, I have 6,400 movies rated, and I have 172 movies rated 95 or above.
Wow. This scale's blowing me away. I love this 1 to 100. That's amazing.
So just for an example, so our audience can get an idea here, because we heard what you thought about The Last Showgirl. Have you put that on your scale yet?
Yeah.
How long does it take for you to scale it?
I'll think about it like basically on my drive home from the movies. Last Showgirl clocked in for me 67 out of 100. Den of Thieves 2 65 out of 100.
Wow.
So that Underworld movie is 60 points worse than The Last Showgirl, which you said already. You have said it is out of focus.
Yes, there are some shots out of focus, but the performances are great.
Wow. I mean, I almost feel like we've got to see this Underworld movie that got 60 points less than The Last Showgirl. But you know what? It did its like 40 million at the box office. She is Miss January.
So 3 zeros this year I hit. I had 3 movies hit 0.
So that would be no redeemable qualities whatsoever is a 0.
Yes. Various things that get you a 0. If it feels like a Ponzi scheme. So some Adam Sandler movies.
Okay.
If it's not a real movie, where it's just not complete, it's horseshit. Madam Web would be included on that. Madam Web is that's not a real movie.
Wow.
That's like bullshit. The ADR, that's like fake. Also like dreadfully terrible, unwatchable. A lot of these are movies that for some reason my barbershop that I go to, they have like a piracy website they go to and they play movies, and they always put on the worst movies I've ever seen. One of them was Atlas with Jennifer Lopez. Just absolutely horrendous. She's in 2 sub-10s this year because the other one was terrible too. And then this movie called Lumina with Eric Roberts. The legend, the most movie credits ever. Eric Roberts.
I'd love to know your combined total score for Eric Roberts' filmography. Like, I wonder if you crack. Oh, I guess if you're putting in the Dark Knight movie, so he'll get some.
Yeah, that's true. That's where it's tough. Is he is
in
some good ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And I do love that you're also grading movies from piracy websites that you're watching on a TV above your head at a barbershop.
Well, I went home and watched it, so I didn't know what it was.
Okay, so this isn't in the barber's chair. It's not like you're watching it while you're getting a shave. Okay.
Yeah, always be fair. But I learned about some movies because I was like, what the fuck is this? She's in some sort of like mech suit and she's on some planet, and it's like it was awful. And I didn't want to ask because I don't know why I felt embarrassed. I'm like I'm the movie guy. I don't know what this terrible J-Lo movies, and it had come out that day actually. So I don't even think it was pirated. I think it was like Netflix. And I went home and watched it. Oh man, that's a bad movie. That's a bad movie.
Wow. Again, you got to get an energy drink to sponsor all this. Go into the movies, this 1 to 100 scale.
Yep.
it's time to monetize this. So
You got to get reimbursed for all haircuts that you get when you're watching movies during them.
yes,
That's true.
Because you're working.
There was a couple that I discovered from that barber chair. There was Atlas. There was one with John Travolta this year. It's like a bank heist movie with a Cash Out with John Travolta.
Okay.
So Cash Out is probably a ripoff somehow, even though it came up before, a ripoff of Den of Thieves 2 Pantera.
If you said Cash Out was in the Den of Thieves universe, Den of Thieves 2 is closer to Cash Out than it is Heat, which is what the first one was obviously trying to be.
Wow. They get it's time to just get Travolta into the Den of Thieves universe for sure.
He would be fun in it.
Yeah.
Well,
and maybe part 3 is a look who's talking situation.
Right.
Yes. I mean, Big Nick with a talking baby.
Yeah.
I mean, there we go.
Yeah. All right, guys. So I want to get to a couple of quick emails. We're not going to get to all of them. Clayton, we've got an engorged mailbag, but we'll lance a few right here, and we'll finish the lance and the rest on the next episode. But we did get a Den of Thieves question. The subject line was Parlez-vous français? And this is from wannabe oh boy Aaron from Illinois. He talked about how once the movie started, something curious was happening. I wish the film didn't play at all. There were large sections of the film where characters are speaking French or Italian, and there are no subtitles for any of the dialogue. As a good wannabe oh boy does, I went down a Reddit rabbit hole to see if only I had these concerns. Many others seem to have the same issue, while some seem to think it was a stylistic choice to not have subtitles for long dialogues in French and Italian. And then he says, once the action starts 90 minutes into a bloated 2-hour movie, nobody will care what the dialogue we don't understand that was missed. Just 2 weeks into 2025, and it's the same old Lionsgate creating a mess. Ciao, Den of Thieves 2. And that's from Aaron. So, Jeff, is that true that there are large sections of this movie that is unsubtitled French and Italian? And did you have as much trouble with that as wannabe oh boy Aaron seemed to have? He seems pretty mad.
So Aaron has tapped into something that I probably should mention. And this movie is way too long, and the beginning of it is very difficult to get through. It is like, I expected this movie to jump out of the gates so fast to a point where you didn't understand what's happening, because they're just like 7 years. It's been on TNT once a day, every week for 7 years. And it really does not. It kind of trudges out of the gates, and it kind of ends that way too. So it's not. The middle is where you have more fun. But I understand Aaron's ride. I like that. I do appreciate too that that's like an anti-Lionsgate thing too. Like Lionsgate just doing this left and right. Like fuck Lionsgate.
Yeah, I mean they're the Megalopolis studio that almost put out a movie where people in the audience were supposed to be actors. So it does make sense that they now put out a movie where they forget to subtitle long sections of the movie.
I did not get to go to the experiential Megalopolis screening, unfortunately. We were filming Surviving Barstool the week it came out, and if Kirk had been eliminated, the night that Kirk got eliminated, sorry if you have not caught up on that yet, but it did happen like a week and a half ago. The night he got eliminated, we went and got dinner, and we were thinking about going to see it, but there were no more experiential screenings. If he had been eliminated one day earlier, him or I could have been standing up there fucking reading the Jason Schwartzman line, but nah, never got a chance.
How, if that had happened, if you guys had gone to see Megalopolis, the experiential version, the night Kirk was eliminated from the show, where he completely flipped out, it was great television, the way he went nuts on that show. Would he have delivered the line in that way? Would he had yelled and cursed out people in the crowd while he was acting in Megalopolis?
No, I think he'd have been so dialed in, they'd have been asking him to come back and do the rest of them. They'd have been like
wow.
You're just hired. You're doing all these now. Like this is your game now. He'd have been dialed in.
He would have maybe given up his well, it would have only been a couple of weeks because the movie was out of theaters, but for some portion he would have become a traveling
He'd have been that
actor
good. Yeah.
in Megalopolis. Wow.
I saw one. I teased it to you guys beforehand. I'll have you guess. I saw one movie with him in 20. I've only ever seen one movie in person with him. I saw it in 2024. One new movie.
One new movie. Okay.
I get the idea of him and I sitting down and watching that movie together. And it's a big, like, critically acclaimed, well-liked movie. The idea of him and I sitting down and seeing the movie is kind of funny.
Okay. Is it Challengers?
It's Challengers. Well done. Good job. Yeah, nailed it. One guess, nailed it.
Wow. I did not know that. This is not, I did not hear this anecdote on any of your guys' shows, but yeah, there something felt right about how wrong that feels.
Yep. Nailed it. Absolutely. Yep. Spot on.
Yeah. And he's a tennis guy, right? Am I making this? Is Kirk? No,
I don't think if Kirk's
he's a tennis shirt guy. He likes a tennis shirt, I guess.
Yeah.
Not playing tennis. Yeah.
He likes to dress for tennis.
Yes. Yeah. If a tennis match breaks out, and he's there, he is dressed for the part.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's, more parents need to teach their kids that early on. Be prepared for tennis.
Yep.
If tennis happens, you need to be ready with a collared shirt and 3 buttons.
It's the most comfortable outfit for a sport that you could just wear it out, right? Because you can't be ready for football at all times. That's not a sport you can be ready for.
Right.
Ice hockey, you can't be ready all the time for ice hockey to break out.
Right. So wow, you guys saw Challenges together. Is there any more Zendaya movies on the slate? Is this a thing now? You will go see every Zendaya movie together?
Zendaya, Pat. Zendaya.
Congrats to her, recently engaged. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna have Dune 3 lined up or whatever she's in next.
So that was from Aaron, and I got an email here that I did want to cover this cross-promotional aspect of Den of Thieves 2. So we got an email from wannabe oh boy Max. He says the competition is corrupt, and he says the rival podcast network are legit shills being paid to promote Den of Thieves 2. The BO boys are legit because they aren't influenced by sponsorships. And then Max sends us a screenshot of the rewatchables. The competition.
Okay.
Well, I had to say the show. I won't say the name of the podcast network out of respect for Jeff here of Barstool. Of course, I will not say the name of this other network that, of course, are the scum of the earth, as long as Jeff or anyone from Barstool are our guests. But that is a big part of Den of Thieves 2, is they had the rewatchables sponsor an episode shilling for Den of Thieves. So they were paid to say how much they liked the first movie. And then apparently they're also in the Deadline article by Anthony D is for Den of Thieves, D. Alessandro. He mentions that there was also a sponsored episode of How Did This Get Made? About Den of Thieves. So interesting. Good for them for getting that sponsorship from Den of Thieves. So how come Barstool? Well, here's the thing. Barstool would never shill for a movie. You, as a film critic, with your 1 to 100 scale, you cannot be bought here. I mean, you'll be sponsored by an energy drink, but would you be sponsored by a movie paying you to say that you like the movie?
No, can't be bought. Can't be bought. And
there we go.
While we've wimped out before, we've done interviews with people and we've watched their movies and seen screeners, and they've been fucking terrible. And we haven't said it to their face. But you could always tell when we didn't like a movie for someone we interviewed, because it would be about 3 minutes of the interview. It'd be like, oh, like, wow, like, how did you get, like, some really like cliche question and then just move on. But no, I would never, can't do, unless it's something that I already like. Like if Dune wanted to sponsor me after, like if Sean Baker wanted to have an sponsor me after, like that's fine. That's fine.
But not beforehand.
Yeah, no, not before. No.
Yeah.
So that I love that. We have this on the show. Jeff D'Lo, Barstool, their film reviews cannot be bought, unlike some other rival podcast
Correct.
networks, which we will not name out of respect
Yeah,
for
out of
our
respect for
guests.
Jeff.
But apparently other podcast networks, their film divisions can be bought. So there you go. Thank you,
I
Max.
would have thought about being bought to see The Brutalist at one point, and then I was able to see it. There was a moment where I thought I was not going to be able to see The Brutalist till like February, and I probably would have taken money just to be able to see it at that point. But I didn't cave, saw it anyway.
You thought about it, but then your morals, your film morals got the best of you. Yeah. And then also you were able to see it in time to not have to be bought.
I'm not sure their budget of $10,000 would have been able to pay me anyway. So that was,
yeah. Brutalists probably aren't able to buy a lot of podcasts.
no,
now. Yeah. So guys, we didn't even talk about it, but I think we're past the point. Maybe Clayton, maybe me and you, I will touch on this in next episode. Also, Better Man expanded slightly this weekend and bombed. So Clayton, I think that's maybe next episode. Me and you get into
this movie.
Well, good movie. Okay, Jeff, speak on this. Monkey plays a pop star from the UK that no one remembers. Robbie Williams biopic, Better Man. You like the Monkey movie?
2 music biopics came out in the last month.
Mm-hmm.
And one was the most plain milquetoast, like just middle of the road, cliche biopic possible. And the other was a movie with a monkey in it. And it was just, there was something about it. It just made it feel a little different, had a different energy to it. And they lost a lot of money and it's not going to be paid off at all. But I just thoroughly enjoyed how different they went about telling a story. And it felt like not risks they were taking, but they were going for it. Mm-hmm. Where I just never felt that with A Complete Unknown, which I don't think is terrible by any stretch of the imagination, but it's just one of those things where I'm like, this should have been probably or could have been better. I think because like I like Rocket Man more than I like Bohemian Rhapsody. Like it's that kind of thing. Go for it.
Should I mean, it's got to be asked. Should Bob Dylan have been played by a digital monkey instead of Timothy Chalamet? Is that your take?
What would the animal have been?
Yeah, what would the animal have been? Like an owl playing Bob Dylan, a digital owl, maybe something more.
I'm thinking like a salamander.
Oh, okay. I mean,
like some sort of lizard,
or like Rango type thing.
Yeah, imagine Rango singing Dylan songs.
Right.
Yeah. That tickles. See, that tickles me too.
Or the Budweiser frogs. You've already got the animation ready. You just translate that. You just have them sing like a Rolling Stone.
Well, that's the difference is that this monkey is not already a star. Those frogs are known stars. Yep. So you definitely could cast them in a film. Like if you, the Budweiser frogs.
Yes.
There has not been a Nirvana biopic yet. So you cast those 3 frogs as Nirvana, then you got something because you've got you've got the frogs that people already know. You've got one of the hugest bands that haven't done a biopic yet.
Yeah,
but I fear that the lack of success from Better Man it will squash that because Better Man did not even do well in the UK where it was supposed to do gangbusters. It only made 5 million there, so it made 1 million here and 5 million there. So this thing is not going to be a hit anywhere.
Yeah, and Anthony D'Alessandro, that felt like piling on at his point in the Deadline article where he mentioned that this movie is also bombing in the UK because it's let Robbie Williams have a breather. He's bombing in the United States. Now you're going to his homeland and you're saying you're not even popular there.
Yeah. I think it's Anthony Diaz for disappointed that Robbie Williams ever left Take That. I think that is a very personal thing for him. Yeah. Because they were at their height and he left. And I think Anthony D'Alessandro was still salty for that. So he shows his biases sometimes.
He does. So this monkey movie is a huge disaster. I hope it doesn't taint the box office work that so many other monkeys have done, especially in the last year. You've had Godzilla X Kong, the collab. You've had Planet of the Apes movie that did well, and this Robbie Williams monkey movie is such a disaster that I just hope it doesn't turn people off to big screen monkeys going forward,
yeah,
because so many other monkeys have done such great stuff.
I think it's sad because you're Kong, right?
Yeah.
And you had a successful movie last year, and you're looking to branch out. You're like, hey,
Right.
maybe I don't have to just be Kong. Maybe I can
Right.
be something else. Maybe I can have a Pamela Anderson type of reinvention where I play
Right.
a different character. And they're saying, no, you just be Kong. You can't be anything else. I'd be sad if I'm Kong. I'm saying, oh, well, this just ruined my chances of doing like dramatic work.
I mean, it ruins Kong's chances of doing, if Kong had been circling, say, like a Billy Joel biopic,
Right.
where Kong was going to play Billy Joel, that's dead now. I mean, Jeff, would you agree that the Kong as Billy Joel movie is officially dead because of this?
It's time for a different animal for Billy Joel whenever that happens.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but I don't think monkey works for any. I think the monkey, we're out on music biopics. It is time for that next animal.
Okay. I'm glad that you're not giving up on digital animals as musicians. It's just monkeys not going to work, but we could find a different animal that works.
The Springsteen movie, maybe it's time to replace Jeremy Allen White already.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean,
a dog.
rat.
I feel like a dog.
A rat.
Wow.
What about a rat?
True.
I mean, I love Bruce, but it could be a rat.
It could be a rat. Yeah. I mean, of course, Kirk listens every episode, so he's a big Springsteen guy. He's a big.
I am
Bruce
as well.
guy.
I'm a huge Springsteen fan.
I think that's a debate to take to the show: is what animal should digitally play Bruce Springsteen, replace Jeremy Allen White? Clayton's throwing rat out there. I don't know. He might disagree with rat.
Is there a Jersey animal? Is there an animal that's so definitely Jersey that you'd be like, that animal can play the boss? I don't know of an animal that is specifically Jersey.
Like a sick dog, like a dog that's maybe coughs a lot because of the bad air quality.
See, this is just yeah. I mean, this just rude.
The Jersey's animal is the horse, the state animal.
Is the horse okay?
Listen, Bruce could be a horse.
Bruce
I like
a horse
that.
would work.
Yeah, Bruce is a horse. I think Joel he's a Long Island guy. So Pat, what's the Long Island animal?
I mean,
is he some sort of fish?
Yes. Oh yeah, because it would be like not a salmon, but yeah, some kind of like flounder. Some kind of flounder as Billy Joel. I think that could work. I feel like whatever fish that mafia guys usually wrap up to send to someone they're going to kill,
right.
Whatever that fish is, that is what should play Billy Joel in a movie. It's like a wrapped up dead fish. That's the animal that you animate to then, I mean, think of the scene where the digital dead fish crashes his car into a neighbor's mailbox.
Right,
That's the scene.
Yep.
That's the Oscar scene.
Wait, which time? Do they just put it together? Like they make all of his crashes into just one crash?
Right.
Or they montage it?
Yes.
It's a montage, yeah.
Just like they did with A Complete Unknown. They're like, we kind of combined some of the historical events to make it work better in a movie. That's multiple bad things, yeah.
Yeah, the going electric at the Newport festival scene for the Billy Joel movie, it's a digital dead fish crashing into different mailboxes over and over again in a montage.
Yep.
That's the big finale.
And the song is Big Shot playing over all that.
Yep.
You had to be a big shot.
Yep. And then every time you hit that note, boom, another crash. I mean, so okay, you know what? Better Man bombed. But this genre is not dead. You just have to find the right animal. Yeah. All right, guys. I think we've covered this. So, Jeff, thank you for being on. Anything that you want to promote right now to the Wanna Be O Boys, Wanna Be O Girls, Wanna Be O people
people.
Watch our shows, Surviving Barstool, The Dozen, our trivia show. Which, if you listen to the show and you're a fan of Kirk, he's a former champion. That's coming back Super Bowl week. We'll be live from New Orleans. But otherwise, if we're talking movies, just go follow me on Letterboxd at Jeff D. Lowe on Letterboxd. You can see 6,400 movies I've all rated 0 to 100. I got my top 500 list on there. My 2020 and my 2025 list has already started.
Amazing.
It's competitive already. Den of Thieves 1, The Damned 2. We're off to a hot start.
Amazing. And yeah, you gotta, and Surviving Barstool. I mean, what a season! So
Yeah, it's a lot.
So that should be the tagline of the whole show. That's a lot. Yeah,
which is that's underselling it.
Yeah,
you have to see that. That's why you have to watch our YouTube channel, because Jeff is dealing with some demons as we speak. You can see it on his face when we mention this show that there's going to be some repercussions. There's some shock waves that will continue after this show.
I have to leave tomorrow to fly to Chicago to host the reunion for the finale, and it's going to be fine. It's not going to be like ugly, it's going to like throw hands, but there's plenty of uncomfortable things that are going to come up, and I don't do secondhand embarrassment well, and I just got to sit there, which is great. I'm getting paid to do that's the dream, but it doesn't make it any less uncomfortable for me. So I'm already dreading a couple of the conversations to sit there and if you're watching right now, I sit there kind of like this just because I can't.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
That's why you got to watch the YouTube channel, because Jeff shows exactly how he sits there and why. And
you'll see me doing
that
face
to see it. Yeah. And well, everyone's got to watch that, and don't undersell it. People might throw hands. Who knows?
That is true.
People might throw hands.
Yeah. Dave always jokes that the one way to get there's not many ways to get fired at the company. I think hitting a coworker is one of them. So that would be quite the finale.
As long as it's not hitting a coworker in a Barstool sponsored fighting event, in which case you can't hit a so that's not even always the case, which is great.
Yeah,
the Foxy Boxing, you're allowed to hit anybody anytime.
We actually we had a meeting with Dave about he's in it. So he's like, he didn't want to know anything. We're like, hey, we got to go over like some rules with you that like we talked about like no phone stuff, and we listed off a couple things. Like, we're like, hey, are you okay that if somebody sabotages a challenge this season, we kick them off the show? He goes, yes. We say, okay, what about if somebody hits someone? He's like, well, it's like that's probably like they're probably fired, honestly. We're like, okay, that's okay, good. We just want to make sure we just want to make sure that's clear. So it didn't happen though, at least not yet.
Yeah, and the probably does a lot of work there. So
yeah.
So all right, everyone's got to watch that, and of course, go to your letterbox. Email us, theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. We got an engorged mailbag. We're going to continue to lance that on the next episode. So email us, boboyspodcast@gmail.com. 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to us on YouTube. The Substack is rolling. We got new articles coming out all the time. So subscribe to the Substack. Follow us at the BO Boys Pod on social media. VP of Interns Christopher is killing it with the vertical clips there. So good on him. And Clayton, that is it. I got nothing else. I'm done.
Oh, I finished. Pat, there is nothing left to say. You've said it all.
Nope. So I got to get out of here, and that's
Except for
until
next time.
We'll smell you at the box office. Nailed it.